Stories of the past have been given a new lease on life in Lyttelton. Our Stories project, an app created by local resident Chris Herbert, gives users the chance to visit landmarks in the area where they will be greeted by audio stories from people who grew up in Lyttelton. With 13 stories mapped to 13 different locations, the quirky part of this app is that the interviewers for the stories are all pupils from Lyttelton Primary School.
I think it's less intimidating for interviewers to come and tell their stories to kids. Also, they tell them in a way, just the way that people articulate their stories when they're speaking to kids makes them really clear, and so the results of those interviews have been fantastic.
The stories vary from memories of the former Harbour Light cinema through to a creepy mystery.
The kids are really fascinated. They've taken a real shine to some of the particular stories, like the Goat Man mystery.
Yes, you heard correct.
It's a legend that comes from as far back as the early 1960s and goes right through to the 1990s. And there are lots of different versions of this story, but the crux of it is that there was a man with a goat on a stick, or a goat for a head, and he used to sort of haunt the cemetery up on Canterbury Street. They were scared to go out at night, and some people think that it was a made-up story that was designed to keep kids home at night. And other people believe that there was a mentally ill man who may have just been misunderstood. So we haven't got to the bottom of that one yet, but the kids are really keen to keep going.
A favourite question of the school pupils is to ask interviewees what the naughtiest thing they did was growing up at school.
So they had been watching a television show about a prison escape, and they decided that they were going to escape from the school. So they took turns going underneath the floorboards through a hatch and digging to try and escape. Parents started complaining that the kids were coming home dirty, and so the principal started watching them a bit closer, and he found out what they were up to. The funniest part of that is that they were actually digging from Lyttelton Main School to the police station.
How the app works is simple. Venture around Lyttelton. When you arrive at a destination, you'll be met with a story.
Okay, so we're on the bridge on the way to the ferry terminal, which is where we can listen to the audio for the story called The Day the Crane Fell Over.
One day they were bringing a ship into Lyttelton, and they brought the ship in too close to the wharf, and the front of the ship actually was up over the wharf and hit the front leg of one of the big cranes and knocked the crane over.
I think you can feel it in a way that you can't when you just hear the story, or when you read it, or when these things don't all come together. So it's that sort of perfect storm and the magic that happens in the time of that story and place coming together that really gets me excited.
And Herbert believes Lyttelton could just be the catalyst for the Our Stories project.
I actually would love to take this project to any community in the world. I think that every single community, every single person has stories that are worth hearing, worth telling.
Those looking for an interactive adventure are encouraged to download the Our Stories project app on the Apple Store and Google Play, but be wary of the Goat Man.